Hello guys, what's going on? And welcome to my channel Logic Bytes by Anand. So today we are checking out our problem of the day on LeetCode. So the question is count surveillance. I hope you read the question description. And yeah, we we are given two grades as input, grid 1 and grid 2, and we have to find number of islands or number of sub-islands of grid 2 corresponding to grid 1, right? So let's understand the problem statement with an example. So here an island defines defined as a contiguous ones are called an island. Let's say in example one, here we have ones, right? So ones we consider, so for a one, if there are any ones in four directions, which is up, down, and left and right, so we consider it as the same island, right? So here the yellow colored ones represents the a single island, right? So in grid 1 we have three islands, and in grid 2 we have total five islands, right? Here we have five islands, and in grid 1 we have three islands. So our question is we have to find number of sub islands and number of islands in grid 2 which are sub islands of grid 1, right? So here this island is common in grid 1 also, right? So which is a sub-island of grid 1, and the island is this type. So we have one sub-island, and let's say this one also is a sub-island in grid 1, right? It is a part of that island in grid 1. So this is also one island, right? So this is also one sub-island. So for these examples, how many sub-islands are there in grid 2? For grid 1, 3, right? So the output is 3. Now let's go with another example. Say, let's say we have this. Wait a minute. And we have grid 1 and grid 2. So the island is, so we have this island, which is the big island, and we have to find is this island is sub island of grid 1, right? So if you see, we have in both of these islands, we have only common part this, right? Up to up to this is a sub-island, but it should be in grid 2. The entire island should be a sub-island of grid 1, right? So this doesn't come to our condition, right? So now explore the other islands, and we have here one another island, and which is a sub island of this island, right? So we have one, and for this one, which is the sub island of this one, right? So, and for this example, it is two. The output is right. So what we are doing here, we have to iterate over entire island, and we have to check if there is any one which is not equal, which is equal to 0 in that island, and it should not be considered, right? So for example, we will start with 1, right? So the island starts with 1. Let's say we check there is 1, and we go, we have 1, we have 1, we have 1. So and here also the ones are matched, right? So up to now we have got this island, and which is sub island, but when we are going down we have one. It means the sub island is extended downwards, right? and here there is no island, right? So which means this entire island does not come to our condition, right? So if any a part of the island becomes zero in grid 1, we should not consider that island in grid 2, right? So that's our base condition. So now let's say we have this example, and what we have to do, we have to iterate over all ones, right? And in the direction of up, down, right, left, right and left, up and down. So let's say we always start with one, right? So in grid 2, we are iterating over entire grid, and we start our main process when a grid 2 of uh, 1, right? So here we got 1, and we check that if there is any one in all four directions. We have one on right direction, right? So we go to that pointer, and the previous will be, let's say we have visited of m by n matrix, and we have already visited this, right? So we make it as unvisited. So let's say, yeah. Now let's say initially all are unvisited, right? So all are unvisited, and let's say we start with one, initial starting one. Let's take this. Wait a minute. Okay, let's say we are started at in the starting one, and we check that if there is any unvisited one, right? So, and we have one unvisited array, I mean unvisited one on right side, right? So we go to right side, and previously, and previous one should be marked as visited, right? So we make it as visited, and now what we have to do, check if there is any unvisited one in all four directions, right? So we have one on again right side, so we go to right side, and we make it as visited, right, previous one, and we again check if there is any unvisited on in all four directions, right? We have it down, we go down, and previous one we mark it as one. So while we are checking this process, we have to check there is one in grid 1 also, right? So there is one only, we should continue. If it isn't if there is no one, we don't have to iterate this, and we should go to next ln, right? So let's say here when we are at let's say when we are at this island, we check in grid 1, right? So in grid 1 there is no island, right? So what we have to do, we do nothing. We have to go to another island, right? So at that time we skip that part, right? So we go to next one, next upcoming one. So there is one, right? And which is the valid sub island, right? So here we have to do a DFS method which iterate over continuous ones, which bring us to check a sub-island which is in grid 2 is also present in grid 1, right? So let's understand the problem with the coding part. Okay. Okay. Now let's code the our solutions.